Is day 120 of the second Trump administration, and the president's so-called big, beautiful bill is causing some concern on Wall Street. Tonight, the New York Times points out stocks, bonds, and the dollar slid in morning trading and rebounding by the afternoon as nervous investors appeared sensitive to the latest wrangling over the government's budget. Late last night, House Republicans managed to advance the bill through the Budget Committee despite pushback from members of their own party. But leadership has a long week ahead of them if they want to make their Memorial Day deadline. And the reality is this. The markets are worried because this bill will not cut the deficit. The Wall Street Journal reports the current bill would increase projected budget deficits by about $3 trillion through 2034. And tonight, the DOJ charged New Jersey Congresswoman LaMonica McIver with assaulting, impeding, and interfering with law enforcement at an Immigration and Customs Enforcement facility in Newark earlier this month. McIver called the charges purely political and said she looks forward to the truth being laid out clearly in court. Meanwhile, the president appears to be taking a more active role in trying to end Russia's war with Ukraine. Trump spoke with both Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian President Vladimir Putin earlier today. Here's some of what he said afterwards.
Big egos involved, but I think something's going to happen. And if it doesn't, I'd just back away, and they're going to have to keep going. I said, when are we going to end this, Vladimir? I've known him for a long time now. I said, when are we going to end this bloodshed, this bloodbath? It's a bloodbath. And I do believe he wants to end it.
Meanwhile, Joe Biden is speaking out for the first time since we learned he has been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer. The former president writing in part, quote, "Cancer touches us all, like so many of you. Jill and I have learned that we are strongest in the broken places. Thank you for lifting us up with love and support." With that, let's bring in our leadoff panel for this evening. Peter Baker, chief White House correspondent for the New York Times, David Drucker, senior writer at the Dispatch, and Tyler Pager, who's also a White House correspondent for the Times. He co-authored the new book, 2024, How Trump Retook the White House and the Democrats Lost America, which will be released this summer. Tyler, I'll start with you, and we'll go straight to Capitol Hill. Trump is headed there to push House Republicans to pass this bill. How do you see this going over the next couple of days?
Yeah, I mean, one of the challenges for Speaker Johnson is that he has tight margins and a lot of people wanting a lot of disparate things, at times contradictory things. We've seen President Trump be very successful in keeping the Republican Party in line so far. He has had his priorities pushed forward on Capitol Hill for the most part. But at the end of the day, Speaker Johnson needs to get the votes across the line. And there are, despite the passage or the clearing of this first step in the House committee, there is a lot of uncertainty about the next steps. There are moderates who are concerned about SALT caps. There are conservatives who are concerned about Medicaid cuts not being aggressive enough. There's just a whole lot to be figured out. And then, as you just pointed out, the Wall Street Journal reporting that this is going to add to the deficit, which is going to concern the fiscal hawks in the Republican conference. So the Speaker of the House has quite a bit of work cut out for him in the coming days. At the end of the day, Trump is going to urge them to pass the bill, but it's unclear if Trump is really going to wade in on these specific concerns that various members have. And as we move toward the midterms, these more moderate members of Congress who are ultimately going to decide whether the Republicans are going to keep the House are the ones that are going to face some of the most pressure. It'll be interesting to see how they respond, particularly to President Trump and the pressure we expect him to exert on them in the coming days.
Yeah, and Peter, the tell is in the fact that the president is actually making his way to Capitol Hill to try to keep this party in line. If it was a done deal, he probably would not have spent any resources to head over there. This bill includes painful cuts, as we just heard, to Medicaid, but it does not lower the deficit. And that's going to put a lot of members of the Republican Party at odds with the president. And it seems that many are going to be unhappy with it.
Well, that's right. And this is the first real test of the president in this new term when it comes to managing Congress. As Tyler just said, he spent most of his term so far using executive power to accomplish his goals, right? Sending Elon Musk out with that chainsaw to slash and burn certain agencies and firing off this order or that order, sometimes of dubious legal authority without working through Congress. Most presidents use their first 100 days to actually enact their will through Congress while they have a chance. This has not been President Trump's preference this time around, but this is now going to test that influence. This is going to test his authority among the Republican conference when it has such a narrow majority, and when there are in fact these disparate factions on the middle and the right, and how detailed he wants to get into it. As Tyler said, he has not really shown much interest in details up till now. He's basically been saying just pass the darn thing without actually saying what parts of it are most important to him. At one point, he said, of course, he didn't want to touch Medicaid being a big target now of this bill. So for him, it's just mainly a test of authority, credibility, and the future ability to dominate this party and continue dominating Washington.
David, Punchbowl News is reporting that both conservative and moderate Republicans are concerned that House Speaker Mike Johnson will cave to other factions on some of these key issues that we just outlined. And as we've been hearing, the sticking points, Medicaid cuts, clean energy cuts, the state and local tax deductions known as SALT, the deficit is going to increase. What is your take on this infighting, and who comes out of this ideological divide in this version of the Republican Party?
Yeah, nobody comes out of it because there aren't enough of them for anybody to win, right? Now, there's an ebb and flow to these sorts of big legislative packages where they're given last rites about 50 times, and eventually they get to the finish line. I think one of the reasons this will eventually get to the finish line is, number one, there's nothing else that House and Senate Republicans are doing. I mean, they can't point to a big legislative program where they themselves, who have to go to the voters next year, the president doesn't, where they themselves can say, hey, look at all the things we've been delivering for you. Everything that they want to do is wrapped up in this legislation. And second of all, there's really no appetite to deal with the debt and the deficit. And so it's not like they're trying to get anywhere with that. All they're trying to do is cobble together enough votes to get this done. Finally, I'd say it's kind of an irony here, but because House Republicans have such a small margin, everybody's on the hook if this thing fails. The conservatives can't hold out and blame the moderates. The moderates can't hold out and blame the conservatives. It's got to get done or they're all on the hook. And let's not forget, whatever they pass is going to go to the Senate. The Senate's going to do things to it, change it, and send it back to the House. And so even if they can get this done before Memorial Day, it's still not actually done. And we're going to be dealing with this up until the August recess. The one monkey wrench here is that, at least for now, they've wrapped an increase in the debt ceiling into this, and that's got a July deadline. To me, that's the real deadline to get something done, unless they want to get the debt ceiling out of this, and the president wants to work with Democrats in the Senate to pass that.
So, Tyler, when you have these holdouts from some of the conservatives and the moderates, is the White House signaling that they're prepared to offer anything to either one of these camps to try to get this bill into law at some point?
I mean, as David was saying, these negotiations sort of have set pieces to them where people are haggling and negotiating until the bottom line, when they sort of get in a room and figure out what concessions each side is going to make. I think we'll see tomorrow what the president says. As Peter said, the president has not shown a lot of interest in diving into the details of these negotiations, and we have seen that in some ways across the board. Today, after his call with Putin, he's saying, let these two leaders, Zelensky and Putin, figure it out, saying maybe the Pope could host some of those peace summits, as the Vatican has said they're interested in doing so. So Trump is eager to tout the success of deals, less eager to get into the negotiations of the exact details. That's never been something the president is especially excited about. And so we'll see tomorrow if the president makes certain appeals to the moderates or to the conservatives, but they're at odds on a whole host of issues. And so there's a lot to be worked out. And often as these negotiations play out, it's at the 11th hour, aptly named, that they really hammer out exactly who's going to get concessions here and there. And everyone will have to give up something. I think a lot of these members of Congress, as David said, as they head out onto the campaign trail in the midterms, will want to be able to tout certain parts of the package that appeal to their constituents.